All right, we're going to go in and color in some of these pumpkins on here. I was thinking this. I do like monochrome pieces, but I thought this piece with everything going on can use a little bit more subtle variation in here. So I'm going into this semi-gloss. I want to say cardstock. I'm so used to doing that, but these are paper placemats, disposable paper placemats. All right, so these pumpkins are getting a little tinge of orange. It's not a huge difference from, just the base color because it's already warm. But this little orangish tinge, I think, will just create enough variation between the pumpkins here and the background. Okay, let's see, this orange is slightly lighter, but it's a little bit kind of stiffer, so doesn't look like I'm getting too much of a application of it, but that's okay. This orange right here just feels softer, so I feel more of it's being transferred to the cardstock. Let's go back to that one. These are all Prismacolors, but not all Prismacolors are the same. There's different, I don't know, I guess, densities to the pigment or whatever, the wax. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Again, it's not like a huge change or anything, but just enough variation. Let's do this too. I tried this out, and with some of the black in the shadow areas, let's see if we can find a little bit more variation with some alcohol ink. Now that's pretty bright. Maybe that's too bright. Let's go to something a little bit more dull, something that's kind of within the spirit of the color, but won't create a huge whatever standout difference. Okay, so this one's like it's like a warm, not ochre, but kind of a brilliant yellow, but a dull one, a duller version, not so intense. All right, so I think that looks pretty decent there. So we get a little bit of variation, a little bit more orangish tones in there, okay? So the thing about this is whenever you start to, kind of vary your intensities, anything, you're varying values and making things a little bit darker in terms of light and shade. If you kind of keep it consistent throughout your piece, textures, it creates a little bit more continuity. Here's some brown tones right there. I'm just testing it right here in some of the tree. I think it's a little bit too extreme though, so let's go with some brown here of the colored pencil, and let's see if we can create a more subtle, slightly more subtle application of that hue. Now I already went in here and created some shading, but maybe this will create a little bit more of a warmer tinge to that shadow work. And I'll come into the area that's a little bit more illuminated, meaning I didn't go over it with a black. So you can see a little bit of it. See that slightly different color than, say, this area out here. Okay, but the piece is getting a little bit more, I don't want to say varied, because it's, again, we're going for something pretty subtle here. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can go in. This is a little bit of a cool tone gray. It's a bluish gray. I don't know. I don't know if I should come into these rocks too much. Now that really stands out to me, that grayish tinge right there, because it's a little bit cool. So let's do some very light application. I'm having to go in really light. This color right here is really soft, so it's really transferring very quickly. So I'll just do a very light touch, or try to. So we can get a little bit more variation in there. Again, I'm not too sure. I'm being really, really conservative with the application of this. Just because everything else in here is fairly, it's a warm tone, so I don't think I want to go too extreme with the opposite temperature. I think that looks okay, but that grayish tinge, though, it's a little bit... Oh. It's a little bit different. So let's go in here with some green. Okay, this green one seems to... Yeah. I was going to say it's a little bit hard again. Not transferring very much, but I do see it transferring. It's really quite subtle. Because it's just so subtle, I'm going to add it in the shadows. Let me pause this and I'll come back, because adding, something onto my scene in mass that you can barely see, that's boring boring viewing. All right, a lot of subtle greenish tones in here. Again, I added the greens over a lot of the blacks, so it just becomes a little bit more of a greenish black. So again, you can't really see that true color of that hue, because it's being laid over a darker color than itself. But I just feel that the grayscale tones all throughout here are a little bit more rich as a result. Let's test this light green here. The light green in here, we already have some lighter green components in here with my ghosts. I have a little greenish tinge in the shadow areas of their costume sheets. Yeah, we can lay some of this down maybe in the landscape, the forest floor. I'm getting a little bit more bold over here with that slight tinge. Okay, so this is just your bare area right there. Here, I'll put this right next to it. So you can see a little bit of a difference right here. Here's this greenish tinge on here, and this is the color of the background right here. So a little compare contrast right here. You see that just slight glow right there to that green? Okay. Sorry for the glare here. And some of the rocks, about like so. And I think that, I don't know, kind of adds a little bit more warmth into the terrain. You can see it up here, that slightly greenish tinge. I added it in the shadow areas. You know, shadows that the dogs, the wolves are, whatever, casting. Yeah, so a little bit more, oh, very, sorry again about that. So much glare on this piece. All right, so just, I think some highlighting to come and some white paint pen work. But you really have to add down all of your coloring and shadow work if you're going to be doing colored pencils before you lay down any type of pigment ink. I mean, you could, go back and forth, but if you start adding in colored pencil work over the top of the pigment ink, that's kind of just laying on the surface. It'll tend to dig it up a little bit and scratch back into the white. So we want that white to be laying on the surface for the most part. All right, so just a quick, coloring addition to this piece before some of the final touches to come in an upcoming live stream.